And in 1995, I was in a psychiatric institution with major anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, and depression. So welcome to the conference. I'm so happy you're here.
And so I don't mean to be flip, I really don't, but it's my story and I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's why I'm here with you today.
I am Tammy West, and that is my story. Welcome to Consider Yourself Hugged, a place to find comfort and support as you navigate your mental and emotional well-being. So sit back and relax, unless you're driving, and get ready for this week's hug. Hello, my wonderful fellow huggers. I'm so glad you're here. And I just want you to know that just now I spent 10 minutes talking and doing the podcast and didn't hit record. So yeah, here we are. I'm guessing that means that I need to say something that I didn't say the first time. You'll notice if you're on YouTube that I'm going to be like glancing at the screen, reading some things, and I have yearbooks. I have them here. I have them on the floor. So you'll probably see me moving around from place to place, but that's probably pretty typical. I don't know. The topic that I have for you today has been several weeks in the making, and I'll put a few links in the show notes for you if you want to go back and read some of it. I just want to do a quick recap here because I think it's important to have the context of why I'm doing this. And I titled it Looking Back, Yearbooks, Reflections, and Lessons on Identity. Why in the world did I decide to dive into my yearbook? A few weeks ago, my friend Michelle Kicksmiller and I, who you know has co-hosted with me, we're actually going to record a session for next week's episode. But we do a lot of training, webinars, things for teachers and students about mental health. We were doing this session on bullying. She was leading that session, and I had sort of a weird reaction to something she said. So that prompted me to want to do more like deep dive into my bullying experience in junior high school. By the way, we called it junior high school then. Junior high school, when I was in school, which started in 77, was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So I'll probably interchange the words middle school and high school, but I mean the same thing. So it prompted this deeper dive into like forgiveness and just looking at the impact. So I actually contacted one of my childhood bullies last week and had a phone conversation with them. I don't really want to talk about that. There wasn't anything specific I want to share, but it was insightful to me, and it gave me like more of a glimpse into the world in which I existed. Now, they kept asking me, excuse my cough, kept asking me, do you remember so-and-so? Do you remember so-and-so? And most of the time it was no, sometimes it was yes. That prompted me to go up in the attic, get dirty and dusty, and dig out the yearbooks. I brought them downstairs, and all I really wanted to do was just look through for a few things, but I went down the rabbit hole of looking at what people said and what people wrote and looking up names that they had asked me, oh, do you remember? And looking for those people. I did that. And then it just struck me how much I got out of doing that. Because when you think about yearbooks, they're really a snapshot of time, right? Looking back on our lives for just a short period. And there can be mixed emotions. For some people, they look back on that time, I'm sure, with, oh, what's the word? Nostalgia and positive memories. Maybe it was friendships or this great journey, or maybe it was sports or academics. And some people like stay in touch with people they went to school with. They're still friends with them, like for their entire lives. And then other people look back with less fond memories. You know, the reality of hardships and struggles and struggling with identity and the challenging times. And that was true for me, being someone who did go through some bullying. Now I have yearbooks from 7th, 8th, and 9th grade middle school, and then, or junior high, and then some from high school. I don't remember, there was no bullying in high school, at least for me. And bullying in junior high, I don't think that it lasted the whole time. My memories are a little bit vague. But still, there's this navigation of life and who I was, and that's a long period of time from 7th grade to senior year. That's like, what, 6 years? It's a long period of time, and it's a lot of change. And for someone for me like me, who was bullied for a time, who grew up in poverty, who didn't really fit in, then, it wasn't a great look back on memories in one way, but in another other way, it really was. It gave me these insights into my identity during those times. It was like a journey of who I was and reflections on that. So I wanted to do this episode as a reflection, like lessons learned, and the fact that we can all find strength in things that we've gone through, and we can looking at who we are now and who we aspire to be. And as I was flipping through them, one of the themes that stood out over and over and over was that I was consistently described as quiet and nice and sweet. One of the ones that made me laugh was um, somebody said, "Tammy, I spent some of my earlier school years in your class, but you're the quiet type." That was it. It was funny looking at these things, and this was 7th grade. So he must have meant spending elementary school days. But as I look just at these 2 pages, okay, if you're looking on YouTube, I'm just holding them up. There's probably, I don't know, 12 or 15 maybe signatures in here. Really nice. Very nice. Very nice. You're very sweet. Let's see. Stay sweet. Stay sweet to a real sweet girl. And let's see. Yeah. So out of, let's say, 15, like over half of them were nice or sweet. Everybody writes stuff like stay sweet, you're nice, have a great summer, stay the way you are, all those things. But as I'm reading them, I'm thinking, okay, I talked about poverty being something that I was judged for. All right. I mean, and we were judged for it. My sister, when I say we, it was just my sister and me. She was a year older than I was, and she was bullied too. And so we lived in this poverty, like our grass grew really tall. We had the health department called on us, all those things. So we were judged and we were picked on for that. But in reality, there were probably a lot of kids who had financial struggles or who were overweight and didn't get picked on. So when I look at words like nice and sweet, I think being quiet and being nice was just the way that I navigated the world, where I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't feel like I belonged. I wasn't popular. I wasn't like glowing and outgoing. And so being nice and being quiet and being sweet and being calm was my way of just blending in, not being noticed, not being a target, maybe hopefully not being bullied that day. It was that kind of thing. And the only other thing I want to say about the bullying, because I've already done an episode about it, I've already posted about it, is that it does leave lasting impact, but it's important to recognize that. And I made a note here on my notes, like I only remember a few names of those childhood bullies. And one of the things I started to write was that they didn't sign my yearbook. But in reality, one of them did. Oh, I typed it in here. One of them did. And he wrote, "To a real sweet girl, good luck in the future. See you this summer. Love ya." What? Love ya? To a real sweet girl? And then it makes me question, was he one of my bullies? Were my memories even accurate? Like, just from that conversation, I have such a hard time remembering who was who. And I don't use the word childhood trauma a lot, but that was probably a thing. I mean, it is a thing. I just mean it, I'm sure that it did affect me. And I just don't carry around a lot of those memories. So I don't really know what to do with that yet. I just saw that actually this morning before I started to record. So there was that, which was weird. But then there was also, I thought about the resilience on these pages. There were so many people who said things like, "You are the smartest person I know. Thank you for letting me copy your work." Okay, that's a whole new story. But you made science class fun. And so I don't remember all that. There are people who wrote in my yearbook, best friends forever. Let me pull this. I got to reach down and pull this one up. This one, okay, give me a second to find it, says, I will, here it is. And this was a high school. And by the way, if you're looking again, the reason these are black, um, I had a house fire in 1994 in the middle of the night. Our house burned to the ground. Anyway, my yearbooks survived, so they're all black and charred. But this person says, "I will never forget that time we went bowling." Okay, not only did I forget it, she probably forgot it too, but I don't remember the person. I can't tell you how many times people said in there, "You were a great friend to me." And I have no memory of being a great friend to that person. I had one person who said, "Thank you for accepting me as I am." And I thought, well, why, like, who was that? And what is it about our relationship that made her say, "Thank you for accepting me as who I am"? So despite the poverty, despite the being overweight, despite the bullying, I showed up. And, my son told me once that Tim and I were the most resilient people that he knows. And I think resilience has been part of my life. I don't think I would have escaped the life that I was living had that not been the case. If you're someone who grew up without a lot of money, there are things like I didn't get the Levi's. I remember one time getting a pair of Levi's, and it was like, and when we got Levi's, if you bought them pre-washed, that was awesome. And if you didn't, you bought this special bleaching powder stuff to wash them to make them look like they were older. But most of the time, there was this store in Madison, Tennessee, and the name was Zayre, like Zayre or something. And it was just one of those secondhand cheapo clothes places. And that's where we went to buy our clothes. Now, I'm not complaining about that. Like even now as an adult, I could care less about name brands. But in school, that was an issue. We ate bologna and macaroni and cheese. We just didn't have any money. Our power was cut off. And I hope that through that, it developed like that person saying, "Thank you for accepting me as I am." I hope it's made me more empathetic, more compassionate for other people who go through things. So I'm not upset. The things that we go through make us who we are. I hope those experiences cultivated a determination and a resilience. That's what I hope. And then there was one other thing that I noticed, and then I do have a few, like, lessons that I pulled out from of it. But when I think about some of these friendships in here that I don't remember, but I do remember, like, 2 girls in particular, and I remember having these 2 close friends in the 5th grade, and we had a few sleepovers. I wasn't big on sleepovers because my panic attacks were pretty bad at that point, but we were good friends. We were in a car accident together in the 5th grade. We were banged up pretty bad. We were good friends. Well, then we entered middle school. Both of them, if I remember correctly, and I think I verified through the yearbook, both of them in junior high school made the cheerleading team, which kind of left me behind. And for many years, I harbored this like feelings of rejection, sadness, maybe. Like maybe it was this other layer of just being excluded. And I'm sure I just really, you know, kept it inside of me for a long, long time. But as I look back, well, let me say this. You've heard me talk about my friend Lisa. We were very good friends, like the best friend I ever had. We were friends as adults. And then our friendship just fell away, and she confided in me years later that it was she didn't know how to be the friend that I needed because my anxiety was so bad. And I never have really asked her what behaviors I exhibited and how it made her feel, which I'm going to do, by the way. But since all this has happened, and I look back on these two girls, and I have to wonder, did my self-esteem play a role? Like, did they distance themselves because they were caught up in this new social life? Or did I push them away because I just felt like I wasn't worthy of their friendship? I don't know. I haven't considered it until now, but this whole new like perspective just adds layers of complexity to understanding like friendships and my own behavior. It makes me wonder, looking at these yearbooks, if there were more people who included me than I remember. And maybe it's just that I don't remember maybe having them to my house a lot because of what we went through. I mean, I know for sure I wasn't popular, and there weren't all these wonderful fond memories, and I didn't retain friendships. But I guess what I'm saying looking back is, did I push people away? I just don't know. And as I look back on this, there are, what did I put down? Like 3 things that I thought were lessons. And then I wanted to look at a few things about moving forward. All right. So, the first thing that I really thought about is that our identities are not static. The person I was in junior high school was not the person I was in high school. It's not the person I am today. And it's not even the person that I will be 10 years from now. We change. And the cool thing about that is that we can change. If I don't like the life that I'm living now or the person that I identify as, nice and sweet are great, even smart. Some people said smart, but there's a lot more that I want in my life besides nice and sweet and smart. Those are great, but those were also, I think, tools that I used to cope. Second, this was so powerful for me. Our perceptions of ourselves are often different from how others see us. So I saw myself simply as overweight, awkward, poor. But then what I saw in here was maybe I was helpful. A couple people said that I was funny. Um, so maybe I had different identities that other people saw me as, but I held on to the ones from the bullies. Those the ones. Big Bertha. Bertha Butt is what we were called oftentimes, and I held on to that. Thirdly, resilience and determination are powerful components of our identity. The challenges that I faced during those years forced me to gain a strength that has carried me through other difficulties in life. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody else to have to go through that, but embracing those things can help us navigate future challenges that we have coming up. How do we move forward with confidence? The lessons that I learned in those years have been instrumental in shaping my path. And I know you have probably had struggles in the past too. How do we move forward with confidence? Well, I want to say embrace your story, learn from it, and move forward. I do want to give you a few, I think I wrote down 5, some steps to embrace your story. I don't know if it's looking at a yearbook. I don't know if it's looking at old letters, old emails, old videos, old experiences. Revisiting anything that has been difficult for you can be challenging. It brings memories to the surface and feelings. It can also offer an opportunity for growth. Offer an opportunity for growth. I always say at some point, either in the show notes, this is not therapy. This is not designed to replace therapy. This is not designed to tell you specifically what to do. It's some things to think about. So here are the things I wrote down, some steps to help you embrace your story and move forward. Number 1 is reflect with compassion. Approach your past with kindness, acknowledge the difficulties you face, and give yourself credit for your resilience and the strength that you showed. I don't think I've ever done that for myself. Just looking back, and this whole yearbook experience has just brought it to the next level in 2 ways, right? Balance, like First of all, looking at these people that excluded me or, bullied, all those things, looking at that, but also like the strength it takes to bring those memories back up, but also looking at, oh, there was also another part of the story that I didn't think about. So look at your life with compassion and give yourself kudos. Number two, seek understanding. Try to understand the context of your experiences. Reflect on the social dynamics, the family circumstances, and all the personal struggles that shaped your identity. And that's what this did for me. One of the things that I was thinking about during the bullying processing was the social context of my town. It was a big sports town, it was a big social town, and we just didn't fit into that. But that's okay now that I look back on that. And then just understanding the context of your experiences. These kids who bullied, excluded, whatever, who I believe caused me pain, were living their own pain as well. And my conversation with that person that bullied me also showed me that. I learned some things that I didn't know before, that these people were suffering too. Number three, find the lessons. Look for the lessons in those experiences. What did you learn about yourself? How did these experiences shape your values and your strengths? And I've already covered that with you, the things that I did learn about myself, that I was valued more than I thought, and that I have become more compassionate, I think, because of it. Number four, celebrate growth. Recognize how far you've come, recognize the progress that you've made, and say, yay. And then number five, share your story. If you feel comfortable, sharing your story with other people can be so empowering for yourself. And it can also help other people to feel more empowered while they're going through their stuff. Let me just end with this. When the most important thing I think is when I said our identities are not static. I have stories from 1977 all the way. I'm holding these up on, I'm actually dropping them, but I'm holding them up if you're not on YouTube. That's what I'm doing. So from 1977 to 1982. And even though there was still all of the nice and the sweet, there were also some deeper friendships that were forged from that time I walked into that junior high school door till the time I walked out as a graduate of high school in 1982. And now it's 2024, and I have been a lot of different people in between them. So I encourage you going forward. I hope that you'll share your story. I would love to see that on the show notes. I hope that you go through some growth. If you do this and it elicits some really strong memories, be sure to reach out for help, whether that's personal or professional. Get somebody to help guide you through that. Anyway, I think I say this every week. I hope it wasn't too just disjointed. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for continuing to join me. And just FYI, next week will be the last episode of the season, and it will be Michelle and me together again, which I'm super excited about. I'll have a couple of other things to share with you next week. Please comment on the show notes, on social media, send me a text, send me an email. Follow me on Facebook if you haven't. Those links are in the show notes. Thank you for downloading, sharing, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all those things. And until we're together next time, consider yourself hugged.